Radio Cloud, the world's leading cloud-based radio operating system. Trusted by hundreds of broadcasters across North America and Europe, our award-winning Radio Playout Studio and programming suite is the future of radio, and it starts here. So today I want to show you best practices for recording voice tracks and producing content directly into Radio Cloud right in your web browser. So from the home page, you're going to open up the playlist page. That will open your playlist for whatever station you have selected at the top. It's going to scroll to the current hour. And one of the things you'll see in the current hour, besides the now playing element, which is where we always scroll to for Radio Cloud, is the produced voice tracks. And so these will show up in red. There'll be a play button to preview the audio, but you can also see the transcription right on the playlist of what your fellow co-hosts or voice trackers are talking about. So since that one's already produced and this hour's already been produced, I'm going to jump over to a later hour in the day that I know hasn't been produced on this station. We'll go with the 9 p.m. hour tonight. I'll find a blank voice track placeholder. You'll see it's grayed out. It says not produced yet. You click on the little microphone. It's going to open up for you. And this is the 3-track Radio Cloud voice tracker. Previous song at the top, your track in the middle, and the upcoming audio file or song at the bottom. You'll see the time selector and the voice track slot selection as well, but all of this is very automated. And what I mean by that is after you save a voice track, it will automatically jump to the next page for you. More on that later. For now, the first time you open the voice tracker, it will automatically open this little tutorial for you. This is always there for you if you need to click on it as a reminder of how to use this page and what the different buttons mean. So that's a great little feature. But just to give you the very basics of how to use this, you plug in your microphone, you click record, and you're off to the races. That's it in its simplest and purest form. If you want to get a little more hands-on, or I guess you could say hands-off, you can click this settings button. Of course, make sure your input device is set correctly. Mine's this Shure digital mic that I'm using, so it is. The 4 spacebar feature and the jump to next will always be checked. And so that's where this hands-off or hands-on really comes into play. If I'm clicking the spacebar 4 times, I can automate this workflow. So I'll show you how that looks. First click starts the outro to the previous song. Second click makes my mic hot. Third click starts the intro to the upcoming song. And the fourth click stops the recording. So now I have my waveform recorded. And what Radio Cloud does so nice is these automated things. First, you can see there's no silence at the beginning or the end. That's because we have this auto trim, smart trim function to basically take off any silence and only leave the meat of your voice track right at the beginning and the end. There is a smart trim button down here in case you ever needed to adjust that and trim a little more or a little less off the front and the end. There's also this ramp button. This is selected as a default, but if I unselect this, you'll see it moves the position of the voice track to between the 2 elements. But the default is to have the ramp selected, so Radio Cloud automatically sets your voice track over the ramp for the intro of the upcoming song. So even if you don't time out your recording right visually, if you think, well, maybe I talked too long or I talked over the post, it doesn't matter because Radio Cloud automatically places your voice track in the exact correct spot so it sounds like you're hitting the post every time without any extra manual work. We also give you a few other tools, including hotkeys down here, if you had some sound effects or drops that you wanted to put on those hotkeys and put into a voice track. This is your audio browser over here, and you're able to just drag and drop from your audio browser right on to those hotkeys. Another thing you could do is this upload button. If you have a more complex multi-track voice track to produce, you could do it locally and just upload it right here into the web browser. So once you hit save, this automatically saves to the playlist, jumps to the next voice track. If I jump back to the playlist quickly, you'll see the playlist status. So you can actually, in real time, track who's voice tracking and how they're voice tracking. You'll see session opened, recording started, recording stopped, recording saving, little statuses like that. Now, if I wanted to reset the voice track, I simply click the reset button and I'm back to square one. The really nice thing about Radio Cloud is that as a program director or an operations manager, you can actually track those statuses on this voice tracking production page. And so what you see is every hour for every day for up to the next 5 days. You can also jump to the past or the future. Any hour that's red, none of the voice tracks have been produced. Green hours means everything's been produced. Yellow means there is some produced and some not produced. So I'm going to click on that hour as a program director, and I'd be able to see, okay, voice tracks 2, 3, and 4 are produced. I can listen to the air check. I can see the transcription, how long it is, and who produced it, in this case, Gloria. I can also see that the first voice track is the one that has not been produced yet. So that's a status page, and a tremendous status page at that. And we can even see if we open up the Sunday morning slot, there's 2 network shows that play in that Sunday morning window, and I can see that those are both loaded in and ready to go. Now, jumping over to show you one more thing about networking and localization. You'll see this is the same voice track placeholder and page, but on a different station, so I can show you this, which is the local selector. When you're voice tracking with Radio Cloud, you can send voice tracks to one station, of course. But if you're working on a network, say a national rock network, and I want to send voice tracks to multiple stations because I'm the midday talent, I can do this just by selecting national or rock format or whatever we're going to call it. And every station assigned to that format, when I save a voice track, it gets shot out to those stations in that exact same slot. But if I wanted to do a specific local voice track for one of the affiliates, Chicago or Kansas City or Cleveland as an example, then I just select that station, same interface, I click record and record something local for Cleveland, hit save, and it sends out only to the Cleveland log. So that's the beauty of Radio Cloud, is you have the ability not to worry about sending triggers or tones or manually timing out a format across multiple stations. With essentially one click, you can send a voice track to one single station, a whole network of stations, or multiple stations in a region, maybe the Midwest, or maybe in this case we have Cincinnati, Columbus, and Cleveland. We call that our Ohio region. So that's what Radio Cloud gives you the power to do with this browser-based voice tracking. It saves you time, it makes you more efficient. And the reason I say that is, let's pretend we have 3 stations running out of that rock format. 4 voice tracks an hour, that's 12 voice tracks for me to produce, and that's 48 voice tracks over my 4-hour shift. Sounds like a daunting number, but if you did 3 national voice tracks and 1 local voice track for each station each hour, that's only 6 voice tracks per hour. That cuts my work down from 12 an hour to 6 an hour, and from 48 for my 4-hour shift to 24. So essentially, you're saving half of your time. And you're doing it all in one interface. You don't have to jump back page to page. You can do this, and you can be super efficient and super flexible. And that's the real power of Radio Cloud, the networking and the localization and the local control that you have with this voice tracker.